Hey everyone, I think we got a pretty quick and easy one today. We have this Kaleido Roaster M2 in front of us, and we're going to do a how-to video on how to install these new chaff collecting bins. Now, if you're curious, all of our upcoming shipments will include this pre-installed. So this video is really just more for people that have an existing roaster that want to add this. Now, some of you may wonder, I have the V1 non-sealed, which I don't like their terminology, sniper. Will this fit? The answer is yes. So the M1, it's a specific size. The M2 is also a specific size, which is what we have in front of us today. The M6 and the M10 use the same cooling fan, so the part is interchangeable. One thing that I will note, the M10 design is a little bit different. We'll talk about it when we get there. This plate has these side tabs. You can kind of see. The M10, you'll reuse the existing plate and just stack the new plate on. So when we get to that step, I'll just mention it. I really feel like this is pretty self-explanatory on how to put together. So a couple things that you're going to need. I like T-handles. I got a 3 and a 2.5 millimeter T-handle Allen head. And I like a bit driver personally, so we have a 7 millimeter bit driver. You may need something like needle nose, or don't really need it. The manufacturer does recommend unplugging the fans just so that you have a little bit more room and you're not pulling on those wires on the control board. So to begin with, I like to remove any accessories that might like fall off if we were to move it on its side. Most of the time these come attached. I've just never attached mine. I should probably do that. Sometimes people say, oh, mine didn't come with the roaster. Well, they started attaching them, so they actually did come with the roaster. But in my case, I'm going to remove it. And obviously the roaster is unplugged. We're just doing a little bit of maintenance. And to begin with, I think I'm going to open up the back and unplug the fans. So on this roaster, it's really easy. You just have a couple of screws. I'm using the 3 millimeter. If it's not 3, just find the one that fits your roaster. Sometimes they do change things. And then we will take off this back shield. Next, let's locate which are the plugs for the fans. I do have this zip tied. It does come zip tied from the manufacturer. I'm gonna cut that zip tie off. So you'll see the wires to these two fans come through this raceway. You should be able to discover that they go to these 2 at the bottom. There's actually 4. You'll just re-plug them into those 2. Doesn't really matter which fan goes on which side. Next, to get to our fan assembly, there's actually 2 screws and there's 2 on each side. So you'll undo these 4 screws total. It's going to be the 2.5 millimeter, at least in this case. Now that our fan is free, we can pull it out like so. And this is where it comes in handy that you have undone these from the control board. It's on the back side, but doing that will give you that additional room to slide those wires and give you some room to work on this. Next, let's note the orientation. You can see how these screws kind of go on the bottom and these screws go on the top, and our fan's wiring is also on the top. So when we get this new black mount, we will want to orient it the same way. Now let's take our 7 millimeter bit driver and we're going to remove these fan shrouds. Okay, so we got our first one loosened up. You can just take this shroud off and we're just not going to reuse this. Let's get to our second side. Okay, so there's quite a few screws. Takes a minute. It's really not bad if you have like a little bit driver or maybe like a little ratchet. And we're going to take our second screen and place it off to the side. We're not going to reuse that. Now, again, let's reorient ourselves before we take off this metal plate. And to get this plate to come off, you may have to kind of break the screws free by backing them out a little bit. There's quite a few screws in there, so it might not want to pull out straight. So just kind of give them a quick spin and this plate should come off. So you may be wondering, if you take a look at these, they're pretty much identical. Why are we even replacing it? Well, the fact is this is actually stainless and it's not ferrous to have the magnets attached to it. So we're actually having a nice powder coated piece of metal to attach it to. Okay, so now that we have that mounted, we'll take all of our washers and put them all back on with these little bolts. And now that we have that together, we can go ahead and do a quick test fit before we put it back on. So let's grab our bin, and you can see it fits through the holes nicely. So let's pull this off and get it mounted back to the roaster. Before we tighten them completely, I'm going to start threading in the other side, and then we can snug them all up. Okay, so there we go. We went ahead and snugged these up. I did mention that the M10 is slightly different. So we have our stainless steel bracket, and with the M10, all you get is a plate to put on the back. So you're going to reuse this piece and put the magnetic ferrous piece on the back so that it has something to stick to. Let's give it a quick try. I don't believe it matters which way you orient it. And simply clips into place like so. Now, the other thing that I will tell you, and I wish I had them for this video, it doesn't really matter. The ones that we're shipping actually have a little hook that goes over the top, and that kind of just hooks on the top so that if you do bump this, it doesn't fall off quite as easily. The model that I have doesn't have that, but the ones that are shipping will. Or the first batch that we sent out, if you didn't get the little clips, you can send us an email and we'll send you those clips. You can just add them to those screws. Okay, so before we put the cover back on, you'll want to remember to plug in your 2 fan wires, and I would recommend zip tying them down. The reason for that is you don't want it getting up in this exhaust and accidentally melting. It does happen from time to time if people don't do that. So I'm going to wrap them nicely and just kind of zip tie it to the existing wire that we cut it off of originally. So the real time on this video right now is under 20 minutes, and that's with me talking and recording a video. I would say you should be able to put this on in 10 to 15 minutes if you weren't doing all of that. Very easy to put on. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. And again, we always ask, hit like and subscribe. That helps us out and it gets us more viewers to our channels and it's more fun. So for today, thanks for watching. If you got any questions about any of our Kaleido products, if you maybe don't own one of these yet, you can also feel free to reach out to sales@espressoallied.com. For today, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.